Monday. I got my best friend here, Mr. Dylan S. and Jesse Vasquez about to
Hello.
join us. He is
I
just
don't think he's
finishing up
showing.
some. He ain't showing.
No,
This
I don't
guy's
think he's
always
showing.
filming, man. All
Yeah,
the free content for these folks. This guy's time is seriously always tied up. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. I'm getting over a little sickness. I think like 90% of the people that I've talked to in the last, week and a half. So, feeling a little bit better. If you guys saw me last week, definitely was not feeling the hottest. But we're here. Long flights, long delays. I hope everyone's traveling safe out there for the holidays for sure. But yeah, man, I've been doing pretty well. Working on projects, as you know,
What
Mr. Don.
what are you working on, man? Why I want you to share this big contract that you got coming up.
Whoa,
And
whoa,
why
whoa,
are you
whoa,
working
whoa,
so
whoa.
hard?
It's not a solidified. I don't think I should talk about it 'cause it's
Oh, you shouldn't have.
not solidified. No,
Okay, that's
you don't
right.
put that energy out there. But
That's
hey,
true.
stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned.
That's a
That's all you got
really
to know.
nice contract. That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Yeah, I've been battling I don't know, like a cough for like the last 3 weeks maybe. I feel like I had laryngitis. I never that's me
That's a big word.
self. Yeah, I don't know how to spell it. That's me prescribe not prescribing. What do you call that? What a doctor
It's prescribing or
is it diagnosing myself.
diagnosing.
There you go. You know, you
Yeah,
go
yeah.
down Google and WebMD, and now you need your
Cancer.
foot amputated. Yeah,
Yeah.
for real, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously, but yeah, man. So we wanted to Jesse wanted to talk about this topic specifically because it is the end of the year, going into 2025, and we want to focus on the top five niches to focus on to watch in 2025 to accelerate to keep your vacancies low, right, and occupancy high, and work with corporate contracts. So we want to share the top five niches that you should focus on to have a successful midterm rental. You want to jump into it, man?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. So, I'm sure no surprise to anybody here is digital nomads, right? So what we're talking about there is, people that are have remote jobs that are just living place to place, and that trend has been growing and growing for years, probably before the pandemic, but then definitely during the pandemic, of people just living 3 months in one location and stuff like that. So
Yep.
that is definitely growing, right? But Don, what are your thoughts on the digital nomads as clientele?
Yeah, there's definitely been an increase, right, of remote work just everywhere because of the flexibility for the companies and obviously for the employees. And COVID brought that to us. That's why we see it now. I've personally seen a lot of, which was kind of a shock to me. It's more common to see couples like digital nomad. Maybe one of them's working and they have a newborn. So a lot of them are traveling with a newborn because it still makes sense. Their baby, right? I think you could do that, get away with traveling, being a
For a
digital
little
nomad
bit.
for a little bit. But once
Yeah.
they start after one, right, it's a game changer. But there's definitely been an increase, at least if I know this, if I read correctly, about 40 million globally, right, of increase of 17.3 million in the US alone.
My man's
Okay,
got
just
stats today.
yeah, bro. I pulled them up because I was really like I wanted to see it, right? So typically, 17 million of those folks typically range from $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Now that's not a lot. Like, oh wait, I need 3
Yeah,
thousand cash flow. But for the one bedrooms, the studio apartments, right, dude, you'll make a killing just targeting the right digital nomads, right? Do you have any?
exactly.
What about
I
you,
was gonna
man?
say, I was gonna say that's definitely, it's definitely increasing, but right for what Jesse preaches and what we talk about a lot in here is definitely on the larger end of properties in the 3 bedroom, 2 bath. But that doesn't mean midterm rentals aren't possible on the studio 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom front. I have two bedrooms myself, right?
Yeah.
Like 3,000 in my duplex that has two ones. That's pretty solid cash flow if I did that.
Mhm.
But I shoot for higher personally.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me. But it's definitely with that growing trend, you also see in different markets it will demand more money, right? In
Yeah.
California, I bet you it's still more than 3,000.
Yeah. And I see this working out a lot for landlords, with multis, maybe 10 units, 15 units, and they want to transition to MTR, but a lot of their units, and I've spoke to these guys, are like 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms. And Jesse said this a while back. His go-to is 3 bedrooms, right? Which makes sense because if we're working
Yeah,
with displaced families, but that does not mean everyone needs to stick at the 3 bedroom, right? So I've seen landlords transition from LTR to MTR with their 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, even studio, and find success through that, right? But how?
for
It
sure.
was literally identifying who's a digital nomad, what industry
Yeah.
is traveling. So yeah, man.
No, I think the only downside of this clientele that if you're going to go after, right, is the repeatable,
Wow.
repeatable. Oh, that's the word I was trying to use. The repeatable business front, right? Because like the digital nomads, right? Maybe it's one person, two people, a small family. It's going to be harder to have that repeat business. Where on some of the other ones we're going to talk about, that
Mhm.
you'll be able to build almost your entire business off some of these companies and stuff like that. So
Yep,
let's jump
for
in the
sure.
next one, Dunn. Who we got next?
Traveling professionals. Now, there's been a major growth. I mean, in everything that we're talking about, obviously, there's been a growth. That's why we're talking about it. But traveling professionals, right? Expanding demand beyond healthcare, because that's where we first started with travel nurses. And another thing, I talked to tons of folks. Hey, I have a home in front of a hospital. Just because you have a home in front of the hospital, people might get mad at me for this, but does not mean it's going to be nurses or doctors that you'll be serving. Or should you just only focus on that, right? You have to look at all these other sectors, these other industries, but there has been a huge demand in them.
Can you
And
give me some examples of those traveling professionals for the people out there?
that's what I'm saying. Most folks
What
just
did you
focus
used
on
to do, Don?
Most folks used to just focus on travel nurses, but we got doctors, traveling MDs. We got traveling phlebotomists. I used to draw blood. I used to work in the laboratory. Then I worked on the analyzers and what stuff and all that stuff. But there's traveling phlebotomists, everything medical. There's traveling, essentially, not everything, but essentially, right? So diving deeper and not just thinking what you saw on YouTube, travel nurses, be creative is basically what I'm saying, because there is an expansion of that, especially if you're in the markets of what is that? Houston. That's hospital city right there, right?
Yeah,
Another one, Cleveland, right? This is Children's Hospital. How many level one? So those markets are always going to be killer, no matter what.
yeah.
But
And then you have the other things out there like the trades jobs, like electricians, plumbers. I actually don't think I've seen a plumber, but I've had traveling electricians, construction crews, all that kind of stuff. If you see those big buildings, I was just in California, and they were building huge, huge buildings, and there was probably like 300 guys during shift change. I would almost guarantee that a lot of them were traveling
yep,
from other places to come work there. So that stuff
exactly.
is huge and the demand is out there. And like it's not just like you'll hear construction crews and stuff like that. You got to think like not just buildings, you got to think like people are working on roads.
Yep,
People are, just if there's like a natural disaster or something like FEMA has to come in. There's other things out there. I work near a military base. They just won this new contract, a defense contractor right near it. There's now traveling military professionals now coming into for that new project. So there's so many different professionals out there that you can target and build your business off of, other than just the traveling healthcare that you've heard and
yeah.
you know stuff
So
like Jesse
travel,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. So traveling professionals doesn't just stick with nurses. You mentioned construction crews, IT, right?
Yeah,
Tech industry.
yep,
That's another engineers. So just
yep.
being creative, and then once you identify those folks, let's say it's construction crew, right? You're gonna want to think like, what do construction crews need? What makes them happy, right? In a home,
TVs,
right? We know
TVs,
that TVs and beers. I'm saying I used to work construction, so there's a lot of
energy
beers
drinks.
for real. Seriously. But just get creative, think about what's going to make them happy, what's going to make them feel at home, like they have the amenities that they need. So if we think travel nurses equals blackout curtains and sound machines, right? What's that for construction crews, for example? Right? I'm gonna give you guys one, a freebie, one that you'll never think that would be a game changer, but it
Oh,
is.
you're gonna drop it on them, dude?
I'm gonna
You're gonna
drop it
drop
on
it
them,
out?
a freebie. And here's the thing, right? It's funny when I drop like some freebies, they go, "What? That's so simple. Like, what do you mean? Like, how can that?" Yes, it's that simple, right? A lot of us makes things a little more I do that a lot. Make things a lot complicated than it is. But boot dryers. Boot dryers are number one for construction crews, especially if you're in the Midwest, and East Coast where it rains a lot. Boot dryers is number one. So if imagine you're talking to a project manager or maybe even an HR person, and you say, "Yeah, we curate the home specifically for your guys, for the crew." Right, we got the boot warmers. We got enough parking for your work trucks. That's another thing. That's another huge biggie. Work trucks.
Yep.
And then talking about the accountability that the construction crew will have if they're staying under one roof, meaning there's safety. Project managers love hearing safety, right? They'll finish the project much faster, meaning they'll save money. So they love that as well. So use the terminology and the goals that the company needs, and then try to curate your business, your home, your amenities to that. And that's how you get attention. Man, that was a
And then you
biggie.
Yeah, that was big. I was gonna say, and that's what Dunn's all saying right there is building that relationship because now you've shown value to those companies, right? And now imagine they're gonna want to work with you in the again and again if they have more crews coming to the area or whatever it is. So, like all that stuff, right, is being of a hospitality mindset and of like being of adding value, and so that's gonna bring you to a whole nother level
Yes.
uh,
Yes, sir.
especially in the midterm rental space. Now, this next client is actually like one of my personal favorites because I don't think anybody talks about it, to be honest.
Go for it.
Uh, so this one is people selling their houses and relocating with families on either end. And what do you mean by that? I've had people sell their houses and want to stay in the area for the summer. I've had it
Yep.
on the back end, on the other way, where someone's moved across the country and wanted to stay in my place and wanted to get used to the area,
Yep.
and now they're looking for a home. So we're talking about people looking to like come into the area, figure out, what that market is, or understand if they like the area before purchasing, or people that are selling and want to stay a little bit longer. So those clients are, in my opinion, one of the best because they're locals or going to be locals, and I love that. And a lot of that you're going to find through real estate agents. And so now
Yep.
you're creating that connection there in the real estate agent firm where you can have someone who's bringing you leads, who someone's like, oh, I had this person reach out to me and they're looking for a temporary place to stay instead of a hotel. So
Yep.
this client, in my opinion, is awesome. And also, if they sold their house, they probably have a good chunk of cash.
I want to
So
give
their budget kind of
yeah, keep going.
their budget could be a little bit more flexible than some of these other ones.
Yep, for sure. I
What
want
you
to give
got
them
on
a
that, Don?
I want to give them an extra freebie, but you might be like it's too much, but dude, like look for areas where they're building like, new homes, right? New development, new expansion. So that means go on the city hall website, read, the city or the town's plans for expansion, and then contact a construction crew in the middle of their building, right? And be of service to the construction crew, not so much as housing the construction crew if they don't need it, but might as well ask since you're there. But say, hey, you might have some folks that's purchasing a home at phase one, phase two, where they're halfway done with the house or whatnot, right? And they still need to relocate. Here's my info. This is what we provide. Just send them over to me if they need housing. That's another
Boom.
freebie. Boom. Right?
I see.
I
I
love it,
like this
dude.
is why I think this client's like one of the most underrated and talked about because it's
Uh-huh.
just people just don't talk about it, and I just think it's just like
Yeah.
these are people that like are neighbors and stuff like that, man. So
Yep.
I love this client. I've had four I think out of my total 6 or 7 tenants I've had since I started in the midterm rental space that
Yep.
are these type of clients. So
Yep.
definitely be on the lookout for them and connect with real estate agents.
Yep.
All
For
right,
sure.
Don,
And
who we got next?
you
Oh, go
did the
ahead.
same
Sorry.
thing too. No, you're good. You're good.
Uh,
Yeah, you did the same thing. I relocated as well, so we know how it's
yeah,
like from
yeah,
both sides.
yeah.
Alrighty, let's go.
And you don't
Hey,
want to unpack your stuff and put it in the plate. I could keep going. So,
yeah, dude. Seriously, bro. When I moved from California to Arizona, right? And something happened. We didn't close right away because it was assumable loan, so that takes longer. Anyways, we were already out of California and we're essentially homeless. And we're like, dude, we need a
Yeah.
place to stay. So we stayed at a midterm rental. And what's pretty cool about that is the guy didn't know who I was, thought I was just regular Joe relocating, and slightly, slowly introduced myself because we were there for about like 2 months. And then he was like, oh, dang. Anyways, long story short, added his home to my database and I could help him out. He could help me out. And at the same time, I was getting insights. But, it was, I
On
love
the
it just
market,
as
man.
you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it just like you relocating, traveling families, people relocating. Definitely
Awesome.
underserved. Insurance, the next one, the biggie, right? Everyone knows this one, the insurance displaced family. Why do you think that's been booming so much, dude?
People talk about it.
Yeah, because of the big checks, right?
The big checks, yeah. Like
Yeah,
I honestly, I'm sick of talking about it. Like,
I
sorry
know.
for my attitude here, but yeah, I mean, it's great. I love it. On like, don't get me wrong, I love it. You're helping families out. You're helping so many different things. It's really being a service, and you're like taking in these families that really need it. So like, they're great clients, 100%.
Yeah,
I just hate just talking about it because it's just so repetitive. I'm
and
sorry,
that,
but I'll
no,
talk about it. I'll talk about
dude, dude,
it.
no, I'm glad you said that because that's some real talk right there. Because most folks think that I have to be doing what Dylan is doing. I have to be doing what Jesse's doing, type of clients, right? Insurance. I'm
Yeah,
hearing insurance, that's who I need to target. And a lot of folks target the insurance with the wrong approach, and that's why they fail a lot, right? Because they are
yeah,
one of the
yep,
highest ticket paying clients, but they step into that ring, into that realm with that state of mind, and that's why they never convert. That's why they never get a. It's harder, not never, but it's harder for them to get a connection because they're thinking about the money when we're going into. We're helping folks who literally just the house burned down, bro. So the
yeah, yeah,
approach delivery is totally different. And that's what we do a lot in the program, right? We coach them on tonality and just the standards and value to operate a midterm rental if you're going to be focusing on insurance and how to be successful in it, because there is a way to do it. There's too many folks doing it where they're just calling these companies and they don't know what to say. They mean
yeah.
good, but they drop the ball for them, for themselves. And um, it's a huge market. I don't think it's going to go away. It's definitely
No,
much more
it will never
challenging.
go away. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely much more challenging now because um, there's a lot of folks doing it, but it's not going to go
Yeah.
away. Big checks for sure.
I think the one thing I'd like to add is like just don't have your heart set on like insurance claims, especially if when you're underwriting
Yep.
properties, because it's gonna be there. It's great when it happens. And I think me and Jesse have talked about this literally last time. It's right place, right time, right situation.
That's it,
And
dude.
like
It's
there's a
literally it.
lot of different things that need to go into the correct line for you to get your property booked. And
Mhm.
you can get blocked at just the relocation specialist. You can get blocked
Yep.
at the adjuster. You can
Yep.
then get blocked because the family doesn't
The actual
like the
family.
property. Yeah, the family doesn't like the property for one of 100 different reasons.
Yep.
And you'll learn quickly that there's a lot of different reasons why someone will not choose your property. And
Yeah.
I don't blame them. And it's happened to me. I've lost a lot of insurance claims, but
Yeah.
it's just the name of the business.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the main thing. But I still like, even though I don't like talking about it, I still do it. Like I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest with you guys, I still do it. I still connect with the businesses. I still do all those different things. So you definitely got to be continuing to do that and going into 2025 for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's always going to be there. So don't shy away from it. There's definitely a lot of obstacles, is what Dylan is saying here,
Yeah,
with the adjusters and the actual client liking the property, and it all goes with execution. Your first time at this, you're going to be rusty. You don't know what to say. But once you figured out what these adjusters need, what your client, the displaced family needs, it makes it a little easier because you have your system now. It's all in systems, end of the day. If you
yeah.
have a system, it makes your life easier. If you're a new Joe, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be hard, but let's move on.
You also will be a little scared when the first time the relocation specialist reaches out to you.
Oh, yeah, dude.
It
I get
happens to
those a
all of
lot.
us. I was
Bro,
terrified.
dude.
You're like, oh my gosh, I got one.
Dude, I just helped someone out. I won't say his name, but he just started in our program, and he was like, "What did he say?" He was like, "Dude, I got approved already, but I don't know what to do next. Like, I don't know how to do
Yeah,
the lease and this part, the background check."
everything.
And
Yeah,
I was laughing, so I jumped in just to help him out, right? But
yeah,
I love it, dude. Let's move on. What we got? The last one, which we kind of went over on traveling professionals, right? Medical and healthcare. So let's just bring what we brought from traveling professionals, because the traveling professionals could consist of engineers, construction crews, chefs, all those folks, right? Even designers, right? They travel. If you're talking about the big dog designers, especially some of the ones that we know, people want their services, set up the whole property, and they want them to be at the place setting everything up. So think about those things. And now we're going to move on to medical healthcare travelers, which is more geared towards your MDs, right? Your therapists, your respiratory therapists, all those. Um, it has slowed down in different areas of the U.S., right?
yep,
It's uncovered a lot of um, short-staffed in like hospitals, nurses being overworked for sure. No doubt, it's uncovered that, but the budget, that's what's not helping out these travel nurses. They don't have a big enough budget. Does that mean we're not going to help travel nurses because they can't pay us? No, of course not. But start looking to other um, uh, like areas of the healthcare professionals, right? So
yep,
doctors, those are biggies. I know Jesse works a lot with doctors.
yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to necessarily talk about the traveling healthcare because I've only had one lead, and they ended up going with a different property, and
Hmm.
that's okay, right? Like
Yeah,
it's not like that's why we say always diversify your clientele that you're going to go after.
yeah,
But I think healthcare, like Don mentioned, has shifted, and that's why I think insurance is now like taking the place. And insurance was always there for sure, but more people are willing to talk about it now.
yeah.
Um, and so like what that means is like again being connecting with those different companies, hospitals, all those different things, so when that need arises you can still help them. But it just kind of depends on your market and if it makes sense. So like my market, or at least one of my markets, doesn't really make sense for the travel and healthcare because I'm like 10 miles from the nearest hospital, and it's I don't even think it's a level 2 hospital. So uh, that's just the reality of certain some markets, and so I think that has to play into it as well, right? Is
Love it.
what kind of properties you have.
Yeah, it definitely does. If it's placed in the right place, again, amenities, design is curated for them. So a lot of those play into a lot of those ingredients, right? Plays into the pot, but it all comes down to market research, market analysis, the first phase, which a lot of folks tend to forget. And they think that we need to have the product first and then find the customer. That's another thing. I've helped a lot of folks. We've helped a lot of folks, right? Where they've launched their unit and they've been vacant for 2 months, 3 months, right? And now they're worried. So let's do the other way. Let's analyze the market, identify our targets, who we're going to be serving, and then go from there. Not get the product first. Now, there's some folks who has a product, they're transitioning, of course. But if you want to start off on a strong foot, you have no properties, always, always, always deep dive on the market analysis. What about you, man?
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing to do is market analysis and understanding your local demand for each of these different things we're talking about, and other things that we didn't talk about. Like I mentioned, defense contractors and that kind of industry, but I guess that would fall under traveling professionals.
Hmm.
But there's a bunch of different things out there that you need to be, I would call it boots on the ground, of like understanding, what's going on in that local area and local market. And that will help you do so many different things. Like, here's another little gem for you guys is connect with your local chamber of commerce. Like
Boom.
they will give you, travel and other trends going on in that market, and it will help your business for sure.
Yep. I love that. That's for sure 100% double that. Go out there. No one's going to know who you are in your town, your city, if you're not shaking hands, meeting people, So definitely go out there because it does help. It's a simple thing to do too. So hour out of your time, 2 hours max. So
Yeah.
I want to leave you guys off with one last obvious one, but I fail at this. I'm terrible at this. Jesse always busts my butt on this because I'm terrible on social media because it's such a
Yeah.
powerful tool. It's such a powerful tool to get out there, free marketing of your property, right? Of what you have. So leverage social media, all the real
I'm
estate
also bad at
platforms.
it.
Yeah, I know, dude. We probably need to take a course for that. Dude, I'm down to take a course just for someone to teach me because I'm not techie. That's why, but yeah, man,
Don's not
leverage
techie.
leverage social media and all the real estate platforms too, right? So be on there. And I spoke with someone today and they said they don't want to list their property on all the platforms and only on Furnish Finder.
They
I
don't want
can't.
to.
They don't want to,
What was the
right?
justification?
Actually, let me say that the right way. We were texting, and that's what they said, right? And then we got on a call, and then I asked them like, why? Like, why just Furnish Finder? And then broke it down, and then I gave them my examples. I'm like, well, Zillow's free, right? Like it's free marketing. Why
Yeah.
not use it? Like,
All the free things. Yeah. Yep.
yeah. So even if it's $100 and you're gonna pay $100 just to market it, it doesn't hurt. So yeah, and she shifted her mind and she was like, yeah, actually, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Actually, on that point right there, Don, some people have told me that like Furnish Finder is not worth it,
Mhm.
like in the past, and I'm like,
Because they don't
say
use
what
it.
you say about Furnish Finder, but like, I've personally never gotten a booking from there, but I can't tell you how many contacts I've gotten that have turned into relationships, and
Hmm.
now I can't like that monetary value is hard to like determine, but
Yep.
I think that's what you got to use Furnish Finder for, in my opinion. So
100% lead gen tool. You meet people, add people to your network. You meet other. Sometimes there's relocation specialists in there, right? That's
yep.
your foot in the door. They're coming at you, right? So
Mhm.
definitely don't skip out on that. But that's all I got for today. We are one day away. Are we one day away officially from New Year's? What's
I
your New
guess it's just
Year's
a day and a half.
resolution? Do you have a New Year's resolution? Are you following that trend? And be honest, if you do, if
I
you
don't
don't,
really
it's
do
okay.
New Year resolutions, I would say. I kind of just do 2025 goals.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
want to, like, I feel like when you say resolution, it means like I want to change something
Yeah.
specifically about myself in a thing. I don't
Yep.
know. Does that make sense? You got one?
No, it does. 100. I get what you're saying. I would think your New Year's resolution that you didn't know is you're growing a beard. Dylan is growing a beard. He's actually a Hollywood stud, guys. He used to be in a boy band, but now he's
None
not.
of this is true. None of this is true.
All right,
You
guys.
go ahead
That's
and look it
mid.
up. Dylan Sesser, but
All right, guys. That's midterm Monday. I'm Dun De La Cruz. This is my brother Dylan SF Sick. Bye, 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 bye. Peace.
I'm dead.
That was good.
Oh my gosh. That
Fucking
was
good.